This is a diagram of the different zones in the dome system. So all that PEX from, you could see how it was all installed in a video several years ago. It was really in one of the earliest videos that we ever did, was showing all the PEX that was in before the concrete was poured. And all of that is laid out in such a way that they're all different zones. So the you can see how they're numbered. I didn't really follow that numbering, but that doesn't matter. So in the main dome, it's 3 and 4. Actually, I think in the way I did it, I think they're 1 and 2. At any rate, those are different zones. So number 3 in this diagram here is the main open space where it's open to the roof. On the 4, the orange part there, that is underneath the second floor. So it's a different zone completely, and that goes all the way over to the entrance extension. The one that is in blue to the left, number 1, that is the master bedroom and bathroom. Different zone. We can keep that a little cooler so that we're not baking overnight. Zone number 2, on the right, is the garage dome. And that one we are not going to pressurize and heat until a couple of years from now. We have to wait until we're going to get the garage insulated. Right now it's not insulated, so that would be a waste of time and a dangerous situation, because it would be interesting to see if we could keep that heated without any insulation. It would be just going right out the building. This is a Noritz 200,000 BTU propane-fired tankless water heater. This is a direct vent unit. So you can see the 2 4-inch pipes that I have going up and over to a direct vent combination unit that goes out the wall right there. This is a condensating unit, and it is pretty powerful, and when it's running, it's very quiet. So we added a small expansion tank right there, and I believe it's called a caliche valve on top, which I think has something to do with helping to bleed air off of it. And then this little doohickey in the bottom here, this is for the condensate drain. So the condensate comes out that plastic pipe, it comes down into this clear tube that is filled with stones. This is a condensate neutralizer. And then from there, it goes directly into the drain stack, right down to the septic. There is an overflow valve that is designed to go on it. That's the one that's above it. In case that gets clogged, the condensate still has a path out. Okay, so this is inside the utility room. So I will explain what we have going on here. Hopefully you can see my stick. Water from the well comes up out of the slab in this black pipe. It comes up and it tees off right here. From there it goes up, and then it goes to the closet to the right underneath the stairs where we have a large expansion tank. That's just to keep the system pressurized and to be able to have the controls for the pump to come on and off. From here it tees off and it comes around, it comes down, and then it goes into these filters. From these filters, now this is cold, potable, which means drinkable water. It's going into the heating manifold system. So in here, now we have entered into the hot water manifold. So this is a check valve, so the water can only flow up and around and then back this way from the supply. So what's happening here is that the water comes up and it goes up into these pumps. These pumps are for the 4 zones. And one of them is not connected. You can't see that. Let me see. One of them is not connected up there. That's to the garage. We'll hook that up later. So the thermostats, which are on the other wall over here, I'll show you in a minute, when they call for water, it turns on this controller, which turns on a pump. So this pump will come on if the thermostat is calling for heat in that zone. Water then begins to flow. Once water is flowing through this system, that turns on the tankless propane-fired hot water tank, which is on the other side of the wall behind these pumps. So that means that the hot water is now coming in at this pipe down here. So hot water is flowing, and so water is now circulating through the system. Hot water is now coming up, and it's going out through the pump, being cycled through in each floor zone as it is called for. It then comes back into this manifold, which is the return, which then goes back to the tankless hot water heater. That's the system. This is called an open loop system. So then if we have water called for at, say, the faucet in the kitchen, again, we are pulling water out of the system. So cold water is going in. Hot water then is coming out of the tankless right here, and it comes through here to this mixing valve to bring the temperature down to less than scalding, and it goes into this red PEX pipe going up to a distribution manifold up here, and that feeds the domestic taps in the bathrooms and the kitchens. So that is essentially it. Now I'm going to show you what the zone manifolds look like. So those are zone manifolds. Those are two different zones right there. Each of them has 3 loops. So you can see there's thermostats on the wall, and those are wired back to the controller. The white wires coming out of the thermostats are feeding, or go down to a floor sensor. When I did this before I had the concrete poured, I had put an extra piece of conduit and PEX down into the concrete so that we could fish down this sensor all the way as far as it would go, and that would read the floor temperature in that zone. So that is what's actually feeding these 3 thermostats for the 3 zones that are functioning. They're reading the floor temperature at the moment. I'm going to change that for the 2 that are going to feed or control the main dome zones. I'm going to change those. I'm going to move those thermostats out into those 2 zones, bring the control wiring back, and I'm going to change those to ambient air temperature so that they are reading excuse me, just the air temperature. And then that'll be done that way because when we eventually have a wood-fired stove in here, that'll be heating the air, but it won't be heating the slab. I don't want to be having the slab calling for heat while I'm also burning wood. This place will get far too much heat going. It would waste propane, and it would be a sauna in here at that point. Without having to manually control the thermostats, well, I'm just going to set them for ambient, and that will take care of that problem. For the master bedroom zone, I'm going to leave the thermostat in here and leave that as a floor sensor only. I'm going to do the same thing for the garage. Those 2 thermostats will stay in here. They'll be floor zones. I will set them and forget them when I get when we're operational here. So that's essentially it. So you can see there's lots of valves. You can shut zones on and off. That's all about the ability to shut them off in case you had a problem. It's also in case you could isolate zones if you had to bleed air out of them, which I had to do when I was first pressurizing the system. So when this thing is operational, you really can't hear it. It's pretty quiet. The pumps are extremely quiet. They don't really throw a lot of heat off. And the heat coming off the PEX is kind of minimal, although over time I'm going to cover them with the insulated pipe insulation. In the little space underneath the stairs, this is where we end up tucking in this really large expansion tank for the well water. It fits in there nicely. It was going to be dead space anyways, so we were going to call it the Harry Potter room and let our buddy live in there, but now he can't have that either, so oh well. Here you see a shot of my load center. This is a Leviton load center. This is the style where you can buy the breakers that are either standard breakers or they have built into them AFI circuit, a GFI circuit, or a combination of AFI, GFI. And AFI is arc fault interruption, GFI is ground fault interruption. All of the circuits that I'm putting in are going to be at minimum arc fault. And then any that go into any wet area, any that feed the bathrooms, kitchen, the dryer, essentially has to be. They all have to be GFI. That's required by code. I also have a surge protector on this. There's at the top left. There is a breaker that is a 50 amp breaker that is attached to a surge protector. On the side of the box. It's up there. I don't know if you can see it up there, but it's that is in case we get a spike in the line coming in. The wiring is all very well labeled, and I have lots and lots of circuits. There are 7 outlet circuits for the kitchen alone. You have to have dedicated circuits for the range, for the fridge, for the microwave, for the dishwasher, 1 for the island, and then across the back counter along the back wall where the sink is, there are 2 circuits. That's required. You have to have a minimum number of outlets along that counter, and they have to alternate. I'm told that they have to alternate from each circuit. Each box is a different circuit, so you kind of leapfrog, and that's why there's so many circuits. I was also quite anal about the number of outlets that I put in all the rooms. I have more than doubled the number of outlets there in each room that would normally be in way more than doubled minimum for code, so that I have no issues finding an outlet and having to run an extension cord. I don't like to do that. So the vast majority of my outlet circuits are around 8 outlets per circuit, per 20 amp circuit. You can go to a max of 10. I think I might have 1 that's at 10. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look at my list. I'm diagramming it all out. That is essentially is the system, and this is the services that we've been working on hard and heavy. So there you have it. That is a very basic explanation of the heating system. Like I said, this is a Radiant Tech kit. They supply all the PEX, all the manifolds, all of the valving, the heater, all of the controls, all of the thermostats, and pretty detailed instructions on how to put it all together. It took a buddy of mine and I 2 or 3 days to put together that main manifold with a large copper, 1-inch copper, where the pumps and all of that are. It took us a couple days to do that because we're not professionals, and we had to really figure out how we were going to mount it all. One of the biggest mistakes that I made in this build was I did not allow for a large enough utility room. I didn't have enough room in there for any kind of a expansion tank, and not enough room for the tankless water heater. If I had to do it over again, I would change that. We're adapting to it right now. I'm not going to do it over again, so it's kind of a moot point. But we're at this point right now, we're working with it, and it's keeping the place warm. I came in here today, and it was 70 degrees in here. It's too warm actually to work. And I mean, I'm down to I was down to just my undershirt for a while. It was far too hot in here. I'm kicking the temperature down now as we go. I don't have any other issues with condensation as it stands right now. So the system is what it is, and I highly recommend that people talk to Radiant Tech. I do recommend that if you do buy something from them, that you double check everything. Make sure as soon as they ship it to you that they ship you the right parts, because they have a reputation of not shipping you the right parts. And I've seen in their comments that there are people that have had issues with this in the past. But outside of that, I'm very happy with the system. It works. I think it works well. I think it's going to be very efficient for this house. I'll tell you what, since I've been here, I've been here for several hours now, and I don't think the heater has come on in at least 2 hours. The sun was shining through the windows a little while ago, was bringing the temperature up inside, but we're so well insulated that it's holding the heat. I don't think this is going to be an energy pig. It's my impression. It was for the first week, I will tell you that. It took a lot of propane. It was running a lot to get this building fully saturated with heat. And to bring it up to a thermal stabilization. Right now, we're fine. It's great. I'm loving it. Very comfortable. And you don't hear it. You don't have dust from a hot air system. The entire floor is a radiator. Easy peasy. Hope that explains the system well enough for you. Peace.